Hi everybody, Mike Ericson from the Roseville Area Optimist Club and our Civic Education Committee. Here with us today is our very special guest, the Mayor of White Bear Lake, my very good friend, Jo Emerson. Jo, welcome.
Thank you.
We're so glad you could join us here today in your beautiful White Bear Lake Boatworks Commons public room here. We're overlooking beautiful White Bear Lake. Isn't it a great day in White Bear?
It's always a great day,
There
but
we
it's
go.
even better when you're down by the lake.
Amen. Jo, if you could, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your current position, your other positions with the city of White Bear Lake, and share with our viewers what's up lately in White Bear Lake.
Okay. Well, I've been mayor 12 years, and this will be my last year. I'm retiring.
Oh, that's
so
sad.
It's bittersweet. There are things I'll miss. There are things that I won't miss. But prior to being on the council, I was going to run for the city council because my councilman called me and said, "I'm not running again. Why don't you run?" And then that changed when somebody said, "Well, the mayor's not going to run again. Why don't you run?" So that's how I ended up. I had been on the planning commission.
That's right.
I had been on the environmental advisory commission. And I'd been on the variance board, and I enjoyed all of those opportunities. And like I said, until my councilman asked me, I don't know that I would have considered public office.
Wow, that's amazing. So 12 years, boy, did it go by that fast?
It did. It really did. When I look back at when I first came in, the lake level was down.
Oh, yes.
That was and it was the Great Recession.
Yes.
So nobody was building, so
Yep.
no permits were being issued. Nothing was going on. And, over time, we started seeing things like this facility got built.
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
our boardwalk got done. We put in new docks at our city docks, where there's 4 marinas down here.
Yep.
And so we, those types of things to make it more enjoyable for our residents and our visitors. And then, we continue, we have a pavement improvement plan that we've had for at least 20 some years. And we are down to about 6 miles of street that we have not completely reconstructed in the city. So then we have the mill and overlay so we can get more years out of our pavement. So it's been a really good process. I'm proud that I have a council that still wants to do that.
That's awesome. So as mayor, so what does a mayor do, Jo? What's on a day-to-day basis? The mayor of White Bear Lake.
Well, the mayor of White Bear Lake is a part-time position.
Okay.
I do not have an office at City Hall.
You don't?
No. Well, then I'd have to go there every day.
Sure.
So, no, but I use the conference room for meetings and things like that. I sign all the contracts, ordinances, anything that gets passed by the city council. I sign all of those papers. I'm the official spokesperson, they tell me, for the city in the event of a disaster, which I hope we will never have.
Yep.
But it's that type of thing. And then I always personally feel that the mayor has an obligation to talk up their city, be the cheerleader for their city. I just think that's important. And we all have pride in our own communities, and we all want to share what's great about our communities. I love going into the schools. I go to all the DARE graduations. I'm a mystery reader every February at one of the schools. And then, like I said, if you really want to learn how to debate, go in front of a second grade class and have them ask you questions. There's no filter. It's wonderful. It's absolutely.
Second graders,
But these little kids know somewhat about City Hall and government. Some of the things confuse them, and they ask me if I live in the White House. But they kind of get it, and it's kind of fun to see them take an interest in it.
That's exciting. You talked about talking up your city. You and I saw each other a few years ago, and in fact, White Bear Lake was voted number one. Take us back to that. At that time, I was representing another city,
Sure.
but both of us were there, and it was a big day for White Bear Lake.
It was a big day. We were the best in 2018. We were the best town in White Bear Lake. And what can you say? I mean, we were up against some really good communities, and it was just a combination of recreational, government, business, nonprofits. It was all the things that go into making a community work. And it was just a thrill to have that.
We were so happy for you and very proud of you for all you've done. Your relationship with your city manager is pretty important. Tell us about how important that city manager is when you serve as a part-time mayor.
Well, we are a charter city, which if people don't know, that's like we wrote our own constitution back in 1921. So the city manager runs the day-to-day operations of the city, and basically she is in charge of all hiring, firing, et cetera, anything that's going on with personnel. She reports to the council, so we have the obligation to keep her or not keep her. And so it's important. I feel very strongly that I don't interfere in the departments. I mean, I'll talk to a department head about something, but I don't. If I have something that I'm concerned about, I'll go through the city manager, because I don't think I should be trying to discipline, so to speak, the city staff. And that's just my preference, and I think it works. Well, I think it works for the city manager not to worry about being second guessed all the time.
Absolutely.
So that's, I've had 2 city managers. I'm wearing them out. I mean,
Good for you, Jo.
2 city managers in 12 years, but her predecessor was 28 years in the city, and so he taught me a lot. I mean, that's the other piece. You can learn a lot, your city managers. As I said one time at a league conference, I said it was a mayor's group, and I said, well, I said, these people pick city government as a career, public works, city managers, engineers, et cetera. And I said, then we amateurs get elected, and now they have to figure out how to deal with us. And I think that's true, and it can be difficult, or it can work. And we're not here forever. Those that signed on are there to make their cities.
And as a retired city
Yeah,
administrator, I know your managers very, very well. You and I have known each other a very long time.
Yeah.
Jo, because White Bear Lake is a pretty special place, why don't you share with our viewers, you've highlighted a couple, but share over your past 12 years some of the highlights that you're particularly proud of.
Well, I'm like I said, I'm very proud of what we did here and got this whole complex built. That it had been 13 years.
Took a long time.
Developers, no developers, et cetera. I'm proud that we were able to build 2 more senior complexes. So we have a wide variety of price ranges, so people can find.
Tell our viewers how important it is to have a wide variety of housing stocks and for people at different stages of their life.
Sure. I mean, most people want to stay in the community that they raise their children in, their churches are here, their friends are here. So I think, and everybody's finances are different. So we do have some that are very expensive to some that are medium to low income. Well, and I'm proud the city of White Bear Lake has Pioneer Manor, which is fixed income for seniors. And I'm very proud that we've had it for 25 years. Wow. And I just love the fact that the city took the initiative to realize this was important, because people do want to stay where they raise their families. It's just very important to them. And I think it helps them if they're able to stay in a community.
Absolutely. Jo, talk about, you and I are going to be attending the open house next week for your newest market rate. Beautiful, beautiful new apartment building. Share with our viewers.
It's a beautiful building. I have to tell you, I've already been in it, so I've already seen it. So, but it's just, I think they make a nod to the history, because Barnum was the gentleman that bought most of the property in White Bear Lake in the 1850s. That's where Villeroy Barnum, and he had the first hotel, so to speak, out here. But they did a really good job with it. Their energy efficiencies in the building are good. I kind of think it's fun in their community room. You push the sliding door on the bookcase, and there's a little card room behind, like a speakeasy.
Sure.
In tribute to the,
of course,
the 30s.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, they've done really fun things. It's got a pool. I think it's going to be a really attractive place for people to live. It's easy access to get on. It's right on County Road E. It'll be easy in and out. And if the rush line goes through, the bus is a block away.
There we go. Perfect.
So, I mean, I think it's nice. And that was the first new apartment building we've had in town in 20 years.
Long time.
And it's been a real long time. So that was really nice to see.
Speaking of a long time, we want to, since our focus is with social studies teachers and students, take us back to high school, if you could, Jo.
Sure.
And share with us, and I've got a follow-up question to that, but civics education, was that something on your radar back in?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I have to preface it. I grew up as the daughter of a career Army
Oh,
officer.
there we go.
So government and the holidays, et cetera, all these things, you were always very well aware of things. And we were in Illinois. My dad we'd come back from Japan and he went to Illinois. And so they required, at that time, 100 years ago, they required that you have to have a semester of civics.
Okay.
And there was a block in that thing that was strictly Illinois government, which was good, how to register to vote, how to do, how the layout of the government, et cetera. And then this was, at that time, we could opt out of finals if our grade point was, such and such. But not this class. You had to take the final, and you had to pass it to graduate. I mean, and I thought that was the best thing ever, because it especially I liked it when it honed in on our state, because how many people really? Yeah, we know there's a federal government and they do this and that, but how many people really know the state government? And it's fascinating.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of a, government junkie, so
Yep.
to speak. I kind of like all that.
So with society today more than ever, why is civics education so important, both for our students, but also the general public?
Well, I think if you're going to make informed decisions, you have to understand how the process works. And you have to understand what's true and what's not true, because with social media, things get out there, and if they're out there, then that must be the truth. And I think an informed public can make good choices, make good decisions, and may understand something. It may be something that's unpopular, but if they can understand why it has to be done or needs to be done, maybe this unrest would calm down a little bit.
Absolutely. So that's my next follow-up question, Joe. You had a tough one last night. We talked earlier, challenging. You had a challenging council meeting, but what are the challenges facing city government today?
Well, I think it's one issue people, and if they get elected, that's really bad, because a one issue person comes in and finds out that government doesn't move that quickly, and then they quickly become unhappy. So, but I mean, I think it's kind of the way things are going now. It's kind of like you declare your opposition, you put out maybe not a lie, but sort of a half-truth. You don't really tell the whole story. You scare people, and everything blows up. And, and now people, it used to be, I'm just seeing the disintegration of courtesy. And I've always prided myself on being civil, but it's getting harder because last night they were talking while we're trying to do a discussion, and I calmly asked them to, well, they didn't stop. So we just had to ignore them and keep going because we had work to do. And those are kind of disheartening. Luckily, it's not, it's more the odd thing, it's not the usual.
Good.
But, it is becoming, I think, harder to maintain that civility, and I think you need that.
Absolutely.
Calm heads can get a lot more done.
Well, absolutely. And I think, do you think if our civics education, particularly for the adults, do you think if we get more of it out there, that's going to improve the civility?
I would hope so. I personally think education is the way we get through a lot of things. If we don't know the facts, we can't make an informed decision. So I think it's really important for people to be aware.
Absolutely. The skill sets needed for you as an elected leader, you talked a little bit more about listening. What do you think are other things that are important?
Well, I think you have to respond to people. I think, emails, phone calls, et cetera, even if, and sometimes you can't help them with something, but even if that you've just called them and talked to them or emailed them, sometimes they just want to be heard. They may know it's pointless, but they just want somebody to listen, and I think that's important, that we do listen to people. And if it's, and I always try to get them in the department that can help them or get it done, and I think that. I like local government because it's nonpartisan.
couldn't agree with you more. Joe, in closing, if you could share with our viewers the importance of civics education now more than ever.
Well, I do think it's important now more than ever because people aren't as well informed. My generation, I think, was. And I think it's gone down. I've seen my children. I don't recall them having a lot of civics education. And I just think it's important for people to understand how decisions are made and the reason for them. And I think people need to understand how, I have people that think I can issue a visa to Poland, but I just think it's important that people know what government, which level of government is in charge of something. And I think it can be interesting. It's not a dull subject. It can be very interesting. But I think maybe we need a new name. Maybe civics isn't the right name.
There we go.
I don't know, but
We'll check that out. On behalf of the Roseville Area Optimist Club and our Civics Education Committee, I'd like to personally thank my very good friend, Mayor Jo Emerson from White Bear Lake, for being on our show today. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.